Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Pranzata Podcast. This is your host, Andrea Pranzatelli. This is episode 102 on the Pranzata Podcast series on YouTube. We have another guest today. This is Tony Loud. He is a stand-up comedian. He is Brooklyn born and Jersey resident at the moment. So I guess you can...
right.
I guess you could say he's a...
It ain't where you're from, is where you're at, right?
I guess we could say he's like a Jersey/New York City comedian.
Yes, for sure.
Before we get into it, I have some things to talk about with him today. But before we get into it, if you are new to this channel and you like what you hear today, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is my mission to grow this channel this year, and your support would be incredibly helpful.
Subscribe, hit that.
Hablas español, señor.
Nah, my shit is whack. That was it. That's all you get from me.
No, for real, you don't speak Spanish?
No, my Spanish is terrible. I'm not fluent, and I'm a disgrace to some people. But I get by. I'll be alright.
Okay, so I was telling him as I was setting up, I usually have like prepared questions. As of lately, I have been in such a bitter, angry mood.
Oh no.
So today's episode is going to be just all rants. I've prepared nothing but a list of things that are irritating me, and you look like a fun person to get angry with. I don't know why.
Oh, you know what? You're not off. That's the thing, is that I am fun to get angry with, and because I don't take myself seriously. So even in my angry forms, it's also hilarity.
So I want to go back and forth on like current hot takes, current things that are irritating us, red flags and other people, like those types of topics. So
okay.
I'm going to open up with one and you can think of yours as you go.
Okay.
So we can kind of go back and
forth.
Right. My first one. And then I'm also asking if you agree with me or disagree with me. It's a discussion.
Okay.
First one. I can't stand people that chew gum in the sauna or listen to loud music on their headset in the sauna. Am I the crazy asshole, or are they assholes?
I mean, first of all, hats off to you for having the privilege of being in the sauna. And I feel like I would be the stupid idiot playing music in the sauna. That would be me. I'd be like, yo, I'm trying to jam out and just have a steam. But chewing gum in the sauna, that's a choice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why does that annoy you? Is that just like are you hearing the chew, or
for some reason gum chewers drive me crazy?
Okay.
And I don't know, do you feel the same way, or is that just me?
That I don't pay attention to gum, like people's mouths, that much, I guess. I allow the gum chewers be,
Okay, hear me out in this one. There's something about it to me that's like arrogant. And I probably sound arrogant just saying this, but there's just something that like, hey, like there's something.
Now that's somebody who's chewing gum as an Olympic sport, and now they've brought their fucking practice to your world, and now I can understand why you're upset.
Yeah.
That's too much. That's an aggressive chewer. They need to be dealt with properly. They shouldn't be allowed in public. That I understand.
For some reason, like for me, all gum chewers sound like
as
that.
I chew M&Ms on your podcast, so your listeners are gonna probably.
What if
have
at the end of this
M&Ms.
podcast we find out that everything I describe is like you?
Oh, first of all, I think that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Okay. All right, now here's this just popped in my head, so I'm gonna ask you this. This one is not my irritability. This is somebody else's. Somebody told me this. Okay, so I'm curious to hear your opinion. I'm friends with one of my exes, and I have another guy friend who wasn't an ex, just a guy friend. He's like, that's crazy. He's like, you need to let go of that friendship. What's your take on that as a man? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's crazy for a woman to remain friends with an ex?
Not necessarily.
Or man,
No, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that it comes down to like maturity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it also comes down to, I think, your own just comfort in your own skin and strengthen a relationship. If you are trustworthy in your partner, you don't have to worry about your partner, going back to their ex. my mother is one of those people who like have had exes over for Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah. So I was raised in a household, that was not that it was accepting or taught, but this was the maturity level that my mother had.
Yeah.
With her partners, and who understood that they were of value to my life. My pops died when I was like 18 months old. So I never had a real father figure in my life. So the men that were in my life, my mother was very selective of.
Yeah.
So when it came down to the separation, if they were connected to me, in a meaningful way, my mother knew, even without my input or anything, my mother knew that it was just like, it would be impactful if these men were to be just completely withdrawn out of my life and just all of a sudden, they may have their relationship, but she also allowed me to have the relationship with them, which was something that, hindsight, you look back at, you're like, oh, that's what she was doing. But in the moment in time, it was just like, they used to date, but now she's dating this guy, It's just like, so I think it comes down to maturity and understanding that it's just like, we're all human beings, and if you have the understanding of like, hey, this person means a lot to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's not has nothing to do with any type of, look at this crazy man. And it doesn't have anything to do with any type of sexual connection. It's just that, we understand each other, and we're, it's some type of connection that's, insurmountable and means a lot to somebody. I don't think that your current partner should respect the prior relationships as well.
That's comforting to hear, because like one of my male friends was like, I would never date a girl who was friends with her exes, so I'm just warning you, like, because I just recently went through a breakup, so I'm gonna be on the market again, single lady. And he was like, you need to cut, because I'm friends with two of my exes. I'm friends with an ex from years ago, and now the one I just broke up with, we decided to stay friends. Like we still care about each other and want to be friends. And one of my guy friends was like, you need to can those friendships, because you're never gonna date somebody ever again.
That's unfair to you, and I think that's unfair to your future partners. Because at the end of the day, you really don't know who you're gonna really fall for. And as cliche as that shit sounds, it's like sometimes that happens. It's like you'll have a little stint with somebody in high school, or barely, like you barely know them, and all of a sudden they get back into your life in some way, shape or form, and then like your friend in high school used to date her, so then like and you're gonna have like, who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Like,
if
you
the
don't
connections
know what's gonna happen.
you don't know what's gonna happen, so you can't have a preset mindset about what you're gonna allow for yourself and for your partners to who they connect with on an emotional level and on a human level. That's unfair to both of you. But I think that's also short-minded. Whoever has that mind isn't really comfortable with themselves.
All right. So that's comforting to know. So I don't have to change my whole life. Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think you're good on that. I think that
there is some
people just need to grow up.
There is some shitty dating advice out there, because I was talking to another guy friend about this, and maybe you can give me your input on this as well. There's a lot of dating advice like spread on YouTube or whatever, or on social media, geared towards women, that is like, when you're dating, you need to keep your roster full and busy. The second you show interest in somebody, you're going to look like a pathetic loser and you're going to get dumped. And I'm like, well, I've been doing it wrong, because I've always,
what happened? Yeah, roster's empty. You don't got anybody in the bullpen?
Not that the roster's empty, but like, I date one person at a time. So if I like somebody,
so there's only one starter and there's no backups. Okay.
So you agree?
Like the Jets quarterback.
I've always been one that, like, if I like somebody, I'm not going to play games. Like, I'm just going to tell them, like, not.
I respect that. And I think that's, I'm very similar in that way. Yeah. I think, but I understand the roster thing, but people act fucking the roster thing like if they're a fucking general manager towards a sporting, towards a sports team.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you be respectful of people's time, be respectful of your own time at the end of the day. Yeah. And similar to you, I think that if you're going to be with somebody, be with somebody. Yeah. You know? I recently, I had dated in the past this woman who was open to like open relationships. Yeah. And that was something that I had to almost realign myself with. Yeah. Because it goes back to the confidence of, you know, almost a confidence level to what we were saying earlier about being comfortable in your own skin to allow somebody to speak to an ex. And she was comfortable in her own skin to allow me to seek other partners where that was a challenge to me. Yeah. And I couldn't fathom that. So it was like, well, am I this type of person, or do I have to be truthful with her and let her know that I'm not this type of person?
What ended up happening?
Being truthful with her and letting her know that I'm not this type of person, and her making the decision of, you know, if I'm going to continue or not. Yeah. But that's the thing, is that you have to be confident in yourself and in the relationship to be communicative so that you have that opportunity to face that obstacle. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not going to change people's lifestyles like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. If it's coming from a place of anger, if it's coming from a place of love and transparency, I think that's where it's just like, okay, well, as much as that this is my lifestyle, I'm open and, you know, polygamous, I understand that this person is wanting to be with me on a more serious note. They're not accustomed to this. Yeah. You know, they tailoring their lifestyle a little bit towards me. Yeah. Respect towards me. So it was an interesting dynamic, but it was also a learning experience for me. Yeah. And testing my own boundaries towards, you know, my romantic relationships. Yeah. Because you never, this is the world that we live in. Yeah. This is the world that we live in.
So it's like, it almost felt like, well, that's probably, I'm going to find more of this these days, so I might as well see what I'm comfortable with. You know? Exactly.
And also respect her boundaries towards whatever, and allowing myself to explore myself, and, you know, knowing what that looks like, what that feels like, and how I can handle myself from... I would consider myself a very jealous person, right. And that's where stuff like that doesn't work out for me. But it goes back to communication, transparency.
Now, would you consider yourself jealous, like specifically romantically, or do you also get jealous of like buddies succeeding? Like, what would you say is your jealousy?
So I think it's definitely more of a romantic stuff, because I love to see my friends succeed, and I love to see, you know, people go to the next level of their lives. And I'm always cheering for people. I'm always rooting for people, because I really truly believe that my peers around me, especially in, you know, the stand-up comedy game, you know, you come up with like these classes of people. But I truly believe that my peers are my biggest inspiration. You know what I mean? I can't get success off of a tribute that fucking Dave Chappelle gets. Dave Chappelle sells out 13 shows in Madison Square Garden straight. Yeah. That does nothing for my inspiration as a a comic. But if my friend is selling out, you know, a small theater somewhere, that gives me all the inspiration, because I know that things are closer to, you know, getting achieved, stuff like that. And that's, you know, you got to pay your dues and, you know, work hard for it. But it's stuff like that you know is obtainable because people in your circle, you know, have obtained it.
I learned a lot of that. I'm a fan of Joe Rogan. Sorry if that's controversial to some people, but I love me.
But this is what I'm saying, is that, like, you should be able to be, as well as respect people's like sexual preference, you should be able to respect people's like opinions as to who they like from a preference standpoint.
They don't.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
for real, people actually don't. Like, I've been like straight up ghosted from friends because I like Jordan Peterson. I've been ghosted for friends because I saw Louis C.K. perform live after the scandal. And by the way, I waited like 2 years.
Oh, like, to see one of the best comics do it of all time.
No, like who
hasn't been like charged with anything specifically. Like, he's not on fucking. It's not Cosby. He didn't do, you know, years in jail.
I had female friends specifically. I had several female friends that I guess weren't really friends, like straight up like blocked me and ghosted me because I saw him live. Yeah. So like it's a real thing.
that's I think is one of the you want to talk about peeves and things that picks us off.
I forgot we got off track.
Yes. Is in regards to preferences and allowing people to have those preferences. Now, you like who you like.
Yeah.
And I think that should be allowed. And I think that people are so hesitant or now so objective towards, oh, this person's likes Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
I'm never speaking to them again. It's like, who? Like,
I think some people think that they owe it to society to cut people like that off because they think that somebody like Jordan Peterson would be a danger to society. So they feel like a moral obligation, like it's real, like it's happened to me. They feel like a moral obligation to like cut people out in order to like protect the greater good of society.
Maybe because I have very little morality that I can't compare and relate to that at all, and maybe because I've also grown up in such weird dynamics of different family, different family dynamics around different people, around different sexual orientation. And that was such a part of my life growing up that it is regular, but it was regular. So then it was the outside world that seemed, unnormal to me, and that I had to, assimilate to that, and the how the world works from that aspect. But having the opinion or having somebody be a fan of something or believing in something, and then for them to completely shut them off is so close-minded. And we do that now because people, I don't know, we have like this cult following method that is this fucking herd mentality these days that I can't stand. Look at this one.
By the way, thank God he's not allergic to cats, because I'm doing the podcast in my room today and there's 3 cats running around in here.
I feel like I'm in a witch's lab.
Sorry.
But that's, you want to talk about peeves. That's the shit that pisses me off, because it's just like, even homegirl, like what was it, Laura Burbett, the Laura Bobbitt or something.
I don't know who that is.
So it was like it's a Colorado senator. Mm-hmm. She went on a date and she got busted and kicked out and Beetlejuice this play. So it was a play in like Colorado.
Oh, it's actually a play.
It's actually a play.
I thought this was like a new term. Like she Beetlejuiced him.
No, she was definitely Beetlejuicing him. But so they're in this theater. They're watching this play in Colorado. Young senator, very good looking, and her date like are vaping and like blowing puffs of smoke, like women behind her telling her to stop fucking smoking, and she's just like taking selfies and doing all this inappropriate shit that really you don't do at a theater if you have any type of class. But the real controversy was that she was feeling up this dude and he was feeling her up, and like legit you see like nice stroke action.
I heard about this.
You heard about this?
I didn't know her name, but I did hear about this.
So with shit so with shit like that, you have this woman who now gets caught because they have fucking CCTV cameras, and they caught her blatantly. Shit is in HD. I watched it a couple of times because everybody looked like they were having a good time. And you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, this is a trip to the theater I would have enjoyed this night. But afterwards, she gets busted, and what I despise of what I hate about her is that I hate about it her. I don't know. Hate about it her.
Sound like a redneck.
Yeah, it's the fucking those fucking gummies I took earlier kicking in. But what I hate about it her is that she was like, oh well, I'll definitely make sure that, because then come to find out that the the date was like a Democratic, like she's a Republican, but he was like a Democrat who owned some like gay club in the area. She was like, well, I'll make sure to check my party backgrounds of my dates in the future. So like that was her takeaway, is that she wanted to like cut out like Democrats out of her dating life. It's like, bitch, no, you got caught getting felt up. You were feeling up. Y'all were fucking opposite parties, and it was on some Romeo Juliet shit, and it was the forbidden fruit, and you knew who the fuck it was. Like, don't try to have this high moral ground. Yeah. Like, see that I'm fucking that.
The edibles are kicking in.
Oh, it's gonna be great. We're so into this. We're so early into this episode. Yeah. But that's what fucking gave me such a fucking like a disposition of hate towards her, because I was just like, that's not necessary to be like, I'm cutting off like dating Democrat. But you enjoyed yourself. Okay, it had nothing to do with no Democratic Party. Don't talk about like you want to look at backgrounds. Like nobody does that. Like I don't go on a date and I'm like, oh, I really wonder what her voting background is. I'm like, no, she has a beautiful smile and a fat ass. I'm trying to see, I'm trying to be bipartisan. You know what I mean?
So would you date or marry? Oh, first of all, do you have like a political affiliation, or are you center?
Yeah, I'm, especially as a comic, I'm very centered, and I hate to be put in a fucking box. Especially in our political party, where there's two parties. When you go to different countries, you think of like Italy or something where they have like 20 political parties. What's going on?
He's in love with you. Like he's so into you.
I don't think he's ever seen a Puerto Rican. He's like, who's this man?
No, that's interesting. So you would be. It's interesting how I have like a million thoughts, so I like couldn't pick one, but I'm gonna go with this one. It's interesting how a lot of comedians end up falling under like a center. Yeah, this is ugly, right?
No, I'm just trying to get it.
My cats tore this couch apart, so if you guys saw this like ugly white thing, that's why. It's interesting how a lot of comedians fall under the center as opposed to like being on the far left. I mean, not to say there are far left comedians.
Yeah, there's like some people who will definitely, fight for their cause and what they believe in from a political standpoint. And listen, if you got the energy and time, congratulations. I don't have that type of energy and time.
I think the reason
I'm so worried about the immediate, you know?
Yeah.
And what's next to me.
I was going to say, I think the reason why so many comedians are center and not, because I feel like most comedians probably have mostly left ideals, but I feel like what brings them to the center is the whole idea of freedom of speech, because as comedians that's like what you do, like your whole career is like saying crazy shit. So I feel like that's like where most comedians get pulled to the center, because like a lot of them are like pro-abortion. I said the right thing, right? A lot of them are pro-abortion. A lot of them are pro like different kinds of freedoms and whatnot. But when it comes to freedom of speech, they're like, wait a second.
Absolutely. I think that we can all come together on that. And I think that it's so hard for a comic who may sway right to actually be waving that flag of, hey, who I am, because of being ostracized from just like a mass standpoint. And they're out there, but their voices are heard from their people as well. You know what I mean? It's not like you're suppressing, their voice from the masses and getting out. And that's where it's just like, if a message wants to get out there, I think that if it's told well enough, it will get out there. You know what I mean? And this what makes somebody like Joe Rogan so successful. It's just like whatever he wants his followers to know, that they'll know, you know what I mean, because they support him heavily. And I think that if somebody, whether it be comic, political figure, whatever, if they're good enough at what they're spewing, it'll get to who it needs to get to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, going back to it, that actually reminds me, when you brought up his name, like where we got into a tangent on that. I was gonna say, we were talking about jealousy before. He was the one who kind of taught me, like just from listening to his podcast, he made a great example of being supportive of other comedians. That was like his big thing. He explained how like it used to be that people would fight for this one spot on a TV show, and like whatever, what was the big shows that they used to interview comedians and then they would get
like the Conan O'Brien's
Conan
or like
and all that stuff.
Johnny Carson's and all that jazz.
Yeah, so he was explaining how back then it was like neck and neck. You weren't really buddies with your fellow comedians, and now because of like the booming of the YouTube and technology and everything like that, now it's the total opposite. You're a moron if you don't support each other, because
absolutely,
like, okay, I have a podcast, you're on the podcast now, the people listen to my podcast, they know your name. And granted, I don't have a million like someone who goes on Joe Rogan obviously gets they get a huge following if they go on Joe Rogan for the first time. I don't have like this huge following, but I might get you 3 people that don't know you, that know you.
Listen, I'll take all 3 people from this podcast to come over and support my platform and everything I do, by all means. But no, and honestly, we're still in comparison to like just career standpoints, we're still relatively young in our careers compared to a Joe Rogan. So we'll look back at this. We could look back at this in 20 years and be like, wow, look at how young we are, and look at that old ass couch that it seems to be falling apart.
This poor couch. The cats, like, so you know what it is? The cats, I don't know if anyone, like, if you've ever had cats or if the people listening have cats, they mark their territory with their claws, and it's illegal to get them declawed now. People used to just declaw their cats so that they could like have their furniture be fine, but it's illegal now. So these little monsters, they just like, they claw up the couch. So I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother getting a nice one because they're just gonna destroy it, you know what I mean? I'm literally gonna just like let this thing become shriveled down to nothing, and then at that point, then maybe I'll get a new couch. But this guy specifically is causing a lot of trouble today. He was like trying to eat Tony's food. He's like, he's something else.
Is this the Crazy Cat Lady podcast? Is this what this called?
Okay. I'm so scared. So let me explain to everybody. I have 3 cats now. I knew I was going to look crazy when he came in my room today because 2 cats I feel like is reasonable. When you start getting 3 or more, you look like a crazy cat person. But listen, I didn't plan for it.
Listen, that's a lot of love in the household. That's all that is. That's all that is.
I didn't plan to have 3 cats. Somebody in my family got sick, and I was so generous enough.
Do you have any animals you don't like? Is there any animals that exist that you don't like? Not that are in your household that you don't like, but like...
Alligators.
Okay.
Not that I have any, but like I don't like alligators.
All right.
I don't like anything. I don't like anything that would kill me. Like there's a lot of animals that would kill me, but I feel like for some reason, like the Disney story with the alligator that ate the kid, or a crocodile. I don't know if it's an alligator or a crocodile, but which one.
Is that the Peter Pan?
Some kid got eaten by that is Peter Pan.
So, I think Hook it definitely ate Hook's hand.
It was a real story in Disney World. You don't know about this? A child got eaten by an alligator.
Oh yeah, it was like at a resort, one of their resorts or something, right?
He was like playing in the pond, like, or whatever. And
well, I mean, first of all, you in their territory. You in Florida. You in alligator territory. That's on you. You got to watch out for your children and your dogs. You don't put your guard down in Florida.
Yeah.
You don't just let your kids roam free. So that's, I put the responsibility on the parent and not necessarily the alligator. But yeah, okay. Any more like would you fuck with birds? Like,
I wouldn't. I mean, I don't want one, but I
feel like the cat. First of all, the cats would go crazy.
The cats would eat them.
Yeah,
like first of all, but second of all, I mean, they look like they're a lot of maintenance. But as far as like observing birds out in nature, yeah, I like them.
Okay, all right.
What about you? Is there any animals that you're like, fuck, no, I hate these?
I'm very timid towards snakes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Another one right here.
Well, those aren't
real snakes
popping out. Do you have any?
No, I don't have any snakes. No.
Thank God.
Could you date a girl that collected snakes?
I don't think so.
Even if everything else checked off, like you had great sex, she was your dream girl physically, great conversations.
But if she's just like, if we're watching Netflix and chilling, and she's just like, there's a boa on her hand.
What about she keeps them in their cages?
Okay, if it's. We got to see how good that sex is. Because I legit wouldn't feel comfortable. I would feel like there's a roach in the house. Like,
yeah.
And And like that scarred me from like from a young age. Like I used to have roaches in my house growing up, and like now growing up I don't have them, and I'm so glad for that. But now if I see one, I'm like, I ain't fucking with. I can even deal with rats and mice more than I can tolerate roaches. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what I would feel. I would feel like something's crawling on me at night, like it's gonna come and I'm just like, no, thank you.
I wonder if a lot of so people that have certain like fears, sometimes I wonder if it's something ancestral. And now I sound like a crazy white woman like talking about that shit, but like that's like the
no, but you're not too far off, because they say that our trauma is passed through our DNA.
It is, but like I feel like so many white women are like, my ancestral trauma is triggering me right now. I feel like that's like speaking of things that piss me off. That's something that pisses me off.
What's your background?
Italian.
Fully? 100%?
Italian, Ukrainian.
Italian, Ukrainian. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely some trauma in there.
But no, the reason I bring that up is because like I've noticed that certain ethnicities are like, there's a pattern where they're all afraid of like the same thing. Yeah. So for example, I have a lot of clients, I teach piano lessons. Like that's what I do to make money, to support myself. I have a lot of clients from India, and I notice a lot of them are afraid of my cats. Like and this isn't, sorry if this sounds like some racial stereotype. I'm just going based off of like what I've observed in real life.
Indians are afraid of cats. You heard it here first, y'all. So spread the word.
I've never in my entire life met people who were afraid of them like that, but they would come in and be like, I can't take like some of them would say, I'm really sorry, I can't do the lesson, like you have to put the cat somewhere. I'm like, damn, it's that serious. And I'm thinking like, do you think maybe, doesn't India had a lot of tigers?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, like there is something ancestral about it, like maybe in their DNA they had to run from tigers.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's that
so I'm
I can
like,
see.
you're terrified of snakes. Is that like a Puerto Rican thing?
But that's the thing, is if you think about it, there'd be Puerto Rican Day parade. There's that one dude with the yellow and white boa who's just giving them out for $3, per picture. Yeah. So I don't know if it's necessarily. It just might be my bitch ass. But that's an interesting take about the Indians and the cats. Indians and the cats. You heard it.
To the listeners listening, what is your race and what are you afraid of? Yes. And drop it below
and let in us the comment section. What your 23andMe read.
Okay, so back to the list of things that are pissing me off. Well, before I read mine, I don't want to be like, this is all about me. What are there any things that piss you off?
I think there's definitely things that piss me off. I'm easily triggered, but I also know that I don't take myself so seriously because of the fact that I might have a heart attack if I did take myself seriously. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that piss me off. That just like have no, like just real mundane things that shouldn't really even matter. But
are there go ahead.
Okay. Well, hold on.
I was gonna like ask you like are there any? My question was gonna be, are there any types of girls that piss you off? Like, I hate this type of girl.
No, I love all type of girls. I love all type of women. The type of woman that really I can't stand are maybe women who are inconsiderate. I think that. Because I think that is something that's just, in people as well.
What would be like an act of not being considerate? Like someone who doesn't say thank you, or somebody who doesn't answer on time? Or?
Somebody who's just somebody, if I was to like cook breakfast for them, right?
Yeah.
If they didn't, I don't know.
They didn't suck your dick after?
No. That goes without saying. But no, I think that is like a small things. Like if I was to either cook breakfast or cook something, and like even the offering, not even necessarily the act, but even the offering of like, oh, you cooked, I'll clean the dishes or something like that. So it's like little things like that.
Yeah.
Where that piss me off, of like that I would be like,
Like they're not putting equal effort in.
Yes, to a degree. But it's just consideration, I think, because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be the act. It's just a consideration.
Like even to ask.
Yeah. Most likely, I'll be like, no, I'll take care of it. But just the consideration of that, and I think that is something that is new to me because of I have been treated well from partners in the past, and now I'm like, oh, I like this degree.
You leveled it up.
I leveled it up, but I also myself am nurturing and sharing and loving and want to cook. I have the enthusiasm to cook for people, and I want to cook for you. So it's not that I'm looking for any type of redemption or some type of good spite act. I just I enjoy, if you're my partner, we're gonna enjoy everything together. I'm gonna enjoy spending time with you. So those acts of kindness or acts of consideration, acts of love, are important to me. And I think that a small acknowledgement or a small counter reaction to stuff like that is important. You receive, you should, if you're giving, you shouldn't expect to receive, but that's how in my head is working. There's an energy, I'm gonna return that energy back somehow. People who are just like, oh my God, thank you, and with no consideration, and it just feels like, okay, I gave and I didn't feel like I got returned. And then the next week we go out and it's the same type of energy. You know what I mean? Nothing is being reciprocated or even acknowledged. Small thing, if you to acknowledge somebody's act. You know what I mean?
They say there's love languages. Do you have is act of service one? Have you ever heard of those? The love languages?
I have heard of those, and I think that if you're now in the state of Jersey, if you're dating, you legally have to know the love languages. Yeah. You can't be in the dating pool without knowing love languages.
Do you have one?
I physical touch and acts of service are my love language. And that's no surprise, but I think that in all those love languages, we all like all those things, and we do those. So
I was literally just gonna say, when people are like, "Which one of these is your love language?" I'm like, all of them. I'm like, which one wouldn't I want?
But that's the thing. I think that for somebody who says all of them, then that means that you're probably somebody who really likes to, and especially from what you said earlier, who likes to be monogamous and be with that person. Yeah, you like to give all that energy.
Oh, polyamory! I couldn't even. There wouldn't even be a let me see if this works for me debate in my head. I would be like, I can't. We're done. Can't do it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have you ever had any type of experiences with that? Threesomes or anything like that?
I never had a threesome. When I was single, I tried experimenting with being the third. Okay. If I was in
what's that? Is that the unicorn? They call that the unicorn?
I guess.
I think that's.
I didn't go through with it. But
the princess.
Yeah, I think it's a unicorn, but
men might be I think a man might be a unicorn. I think a female has something
like a butterfly. I don't know.
Yeah, one of those things.
I don't know. Something rainbow. I don't know. But I think as a woman in a relationship, I would be too jealous to do it.
Okay.
But just for pure exploration, one time while I was single tried to pursue a situation where I was the third, and then I ended up not going through with it for a few reasons. 3 reasons. One, it was very clear. The first thing was that it was very clear that it was more the guy's thing.
Okay.
So I felt I almost felt like I got a vibe that she was doing it just to fix her marriage. Okay. So I felt like, well, I don't want to come in here and make her upset just because she's giving into her husband. Okay. And not only that, but it was very clear that she there was no question about well, what do I want in this? It was very
this is what they want. Yeah.
She was very it was about her husband. She was like, my husband likes a sloppy blowjob. She was like, he doesn't like bush. So you have to and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, is there any degree of what if I don't want to give him a blowjob? What if I just want to hook up with you and he watch it? What? So there was a lot of stuff where I was like, okay, there's that. And then, okay, now here I'm going to sound crazy.
But now, were you more attracted to the man or the female towards this?
Okay, so this is going to sound weird, but there's a problem when you're a single woman. For me, that might not be for all women across the board. There's a serious problem because one, women get horny, but I tend to fall in love with whoever I hook up with. Mm-hmm. So like if I'm in a situation where I'm like, I'm horny and I want to get something done, but I don't want to be in a relationship, like I'm not ready, what do I do? So I thought at the time that would be the perfect alternative because I'm like, well, they're in a relationship, so I can have sex with them. Or like the woman, I don't want to marry a woman. I don't want to date a woman. So I thought maybe I could do this as a way to get sexual release without falling in love. So that
the
was
batteries just died that week and you were just like, fuck it, I'm gonna be a third wheel towards this whole couple.
Yeah, but it's just something weird. And now this is where I'm gonna sound like a Mormon or something. The other thing I thought was like, what if I do meet the man of my dreams and then he finds out about this and he's like, that's disgusting. Like, I mean, that could just be me. But what if he's like, that's hoe behavior? I don't want to.
No, fuck him if he believes.
You think so? Like,
oh, absolutely. Because remember, it goes back to what I was saying earlier in regards to your past experiences.
Yeah,
is that meeting somebody new? Who gives a fuck about? I'm with you now.
Yeah,
I'm with you now. We're going to explore ourselves and our bodies and our emotions together now. Like what happened in the past will happen in the past. And if you feel that. For men, I don't know what it is with men. I don't know if you fucking...
They're protective or something.
Not even that they're protective or if they feel like the pussy is tarnished.
That's okay. So I feel like there's nothing in between anymore. There's either like men, the pussy started. I feel like there's either men who are like, let's do poly. You fuck her, I fuck him. We're all good to go. Or there's men that are like, you better be a virgin. Like I feel like there's nothing in between. And if I had to choose one, I would choose that one. So I don't want to fuck it up for him.
You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong because fuck that shit. Because and if anything, then just when you get to find a man, then what you do is just wait maybe like a week and a half or two. Well, I don't know how long you wait till you first do the deed, but like. Give it some time before you enter if you don't want any fucking past relationship stretches in that area to be felt. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what you're wrapped around in that aspect of like past people. That's the thing. That's what annoys me. We'll talk about peeves, but that's what annoys me about like body counts. In relationships, when people talk about fucking body counts, I'm like, who the fuck gives a shit about a body count?
Yeah.
And it's like, what you're expecting like what single digit numbers in the 2023? I was like,
also, I'm 35. Like, do you think I've been with less than 10 people at age 35? I'd be a loser.
Exactly. Exactly. Not to mention our generation, we were fucking making out in the stairwells at 12, 13. Like, I don't know where you went to school at, but I went to public school in New York.
I did my first. I did a fingering. I think I did a fingering in the classroom. Did you?
In the classroom was wild. I definitely did it in the stairwell and got blown in the stairwell. But yeah, that is I feel as far as American, growing up, the comeuppance in America, especially with how we have our pop culture where we think about stuff like Teen Mom.
What?
Like MTV on Teen Mom?
Apparently I'm not part of the culture because I don't even know what that is.
You don't know Teen Mom on MTV? But so that was big when we were in high school. Teen Mom, what was it? All these like young pregnant women, Maury, like that type of atmosphere. That was what we were accustomed to. So like, it's like sex was on our zeitgeist of thoughts at such a young age. So like us trying to imitate that life and be in that life and being a part of that life, we were so young and being exposed to it. I know that I was.
Well, and like pornography started becoming normalized by the time we were like 10 years old.
And the accessibility, like I was watching, real fucking sex and Taxi Cab Confessions at a very young age. And I remember I saw my first pair of tits at like 6 and I was infatuated and since been infatuated. But like it was that exposure to it that just allowed this acceleration, you know, and so when you talk about fucking like body count, like it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? What are you what fucking purist are you?
Also, like what would be the difference between, let's say a girl had an ex that she dated for 10 years and they had great sex. What would be the difference between her having one dick in her 1,000,000 times versus 20 dicks probably less times? Like,
oh, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's like wearing one sweater for one life, or
like
that's wow. You just broke my brain with that one.
She still got fucked probably more times. I mean, unless it was a bad relationship, but if she was in like a long-term relationship, she still was getting dick in her. It was just one dick over and over again.
I like that.
And that's more stressful because then that makes it like more of a competition, because it's like she had the same dick. That dick must be good.
Yes, exactly. You know? And not only that, that's an emotional attachment to the dick as well at that point in juncture, because I've had some shit that I've been in a relationship for a while, and we separated, and then there was talk, you know, we had tried to be cordial, and then but there was talk about like her first, you know, the first sexual experience after me, and like how it was just like an emotional, because we were together for years, and then now we're not, and then now she's having her first sexual experience
with another person. It feels weird, and
like it was like emotional type deal. So you know, though, having that scenario with one person, that's even more,
that's worse,
of
like
a detachment. That's harder of a detachment for somebody. So that's an interesting thought. I like that. I feel
like that's what comedians do. They like try to find like the case that no one thought of. I feel like that's like a comedian thing, you know,
for sure, because there's so many similar thought processes in the ether that you're like, oh well, what am I gonna try to say on stage that nobody said? You know, how can I go at this angle?
Like you try to convince somebody of something that they've never heard, and at first they're like, what? And the idea is like by the end, like convince them that you're correct. Like, you know
absolutely, and that's what the great ones do. That's what the great ones do.
Speaking of which, one of my pet peeves on here, again, this is going to be something I have to convince everybody of, because I'm going to sound like a monster when I bring this up.